Well, first of all, Dad asked me to thank all of you for coming. All the family, the neighbors, the friends from near and far away. So many of you who changed your plans and even traveled from out of state. We are humbled and comforted by your presence. It is a daunting task to try to encapsulate the life of our mom. Mom excelled at so many things and touched all of our lives in so many ways. But this week, Chris, Kenton, and I sat down together to collect a few of our reflections to celebrate her life and memory. Mom was, above all else, a worker. I think many people in this community knew how deeply she loved farming with Dad, and she was a full and equal partner in every aspect of the operation. During the years that the folks had a hog operation, Mom was in charge of the farrowing barn. She was completely unfazed by the tasks of giving injections and clipping teeth and tails and so on. Kenton and I have many, many memories of time spent holding on to the quivering hind legs of piglets as Mom deftly castrated them. By our count, somewhere between 15 and 20,000 piglets. When it came time for field work, Mom drove the silage wagons and hauled truckloads of grain, as well as doing most of the spring and fall tillage. And when not driving her own vehicle, Mom was always found sitting next to Dad in the tractor or combine. One of their neighbors said it well. When they invented the buddy seats on tractors and combines, that was for Jean and Virginia. Mom took pride in creating a beautiful farmyard trimmed with flower beds, and while doing field checks with Dad, was known to have him pull over so she could get out and pull a stray weed. Mom was the ultimate homemaker and worked to create a lovely home for us. After building our family house with the help of many relatives, she and Dad worked together to wallpaper and paint, lay all the carpeting and flooring themselves, and she sewed all of their own curtains. As we kids grew up and got houses of our own, there was nothing she loved more than to help us tackle projects in our own homes. She and Dad would pull up in the pickup and emerge in work clothes, armed with the necessary equipment, ready to strip the rest of that wallpaper, or help you paint your living room, or finish the sheetrocking, etc. When trapped in Kansas City at Kenton and Holly's home during a raging blizzard, Mom passed the time by painting the interior of their garage. She absolutely thrived on the fun of a project and the family togetherness that ensued. She was a wonderful cook and baker and an expert at canning and freezing. Mom was aware of how blessed she was to be able to work at home full-time and tried to help her children with the aspects of homemaking that were hard for us to keep up with while holding down other jobs. We all reaped the benefits of her bountiful garden and her delicious baking. When putting up applesauce or freezing sweet corn, she was always careful to set some aside for her Kansas kids. And there were many, many times that she would ask Brad to drop off Chris's canning jars and a 5-gallon pail of her tomatoes in the morning, and then would have him stop back in the afternoon to pick up 25 jars of home-canned spaghetti sauce. She was always ready to give a haircut and loved it when Ben would call to ask if the beauty shop was open. She was also a speedy drop-off service for dress alterations, hemming, patching, and so on. Drop off your pants in the morning and pick them up neatly hemmed in the afternoon. Sewing was Mom's favorite pastime, and her skills are legendary in our family. For many years, she was a very busy wedding alterer, and there were always wedding and bridesmaids' dresses hanging in her spare room, much to Polly and Annie's delight. Mom had incredible patience for painstaking work and a real eye for detail. The costumes she sewed for numerous years of Schmeckfest productions were made to last for many years and were created with loving attention to the smallest decorative detail. Her granddaughters had the great fun of marking pictures of outfits in the American Girl doll catalog so that she could faithfully reproduce them for Christmas or birthday gifts. All of the granddaughters are blessed to have received hand-sewn doll clothes that are truly small works of art, lovingly created by Grandma's hands. In preparing for these reflections, we couldn't help wishing that there was a way to produce cold, hard statistics of exactly how many pieces of clothing she has sewn over her lifetime, as well as how many school kit bags and quilts and doll dresses, curtains, and Schmeckfest costumes. And just out of curiosity, if you have ever owned or worn something sewn or altered by Mom, be it wedding attire or doll clothes or a costume or any item stitched by her hand, would you raise your hand? There's our cold, hard statistics. Her grandchildren were a great source of joy to her, and gifts for them were chosen with great, great thought. Mom was not a fan of Barbies or video games, but instead carefully chose gifts for both her children and grandchildren that were educational and encouraged creativity, artistic expression, and imaginative role play. Building sets of all kinds, art supplies, puzzles, games, and baby dolls for us to nurture were her favorite gifts to give. All three of our homes now include precious pieces of doll furniture built together by her and Dad in his shop and delicately hand-painted by her. Mom became a champion of all of our causes and projects. Although she didn't graduate from Bethel College, when we kids enrolled there, she became a dyed-in-the-wool thresher. When Kenton entered USD Medical School, she was suddenly a USD fan. In recent years, she joined Kenton as an avid KU Jayhawk fan, attending a game wearing the requisite red and blue apparel and learning the names of all the players. And as Ben, Polly, and Annie entered Freeman Academy, she was a loyal fan at their sporting events and was certain that no other school compared to theirs musically. Whatever projects I was currently working on through MCC became passions of hers and the recipient of her time and generosity as well. And if Chris was costuming a show, she was sewing for it also. Mom was a lifelong lover of music and a talented musician, although she never wanted to be in the spotlight. One of her most treasured memories was of the time she spent as the junior choir director at North Church before she and Dad were married. In her adulthood, she was the accompanist for all of our instrumental solos and made sure we all took piano and instrumental lessons. When we were young, we didn't realize that Mom was blessed with perfect pitch. And it was both mystifying and frustrating when we would hit a clunker while practicing piano and we would hear her yell, F sharp, in the kitchen. How did she know? She loved going to concerts of all kinds with Dad, especially those featuring her grandkids, and enjoyed singing in our church chancel choir as long as her beautiful soprano voice allowed. We never entered the house when there wasn't classical music playing on the radio. Mom was a very private person, rather introverted. She was never one to gush or to be overly demonstrative, although one never left her house without a hug and a chocolate from the candy bowl by the door. As adults, we kids can now easily identify her love language as being acts of service, meaning that her love for us was often demonstrated in tangible, practical ways, through warm rhubarb pies, cinnamon rolls, reupholstered throw pillows, flower bed weeding, cheese pockets and poppy seed rolls, and sheetrock mudding and taping. And we have been overwhelmed by the depth of love that her language conveyed. In sitting down to talk about Mom's life and legacy, the three of us kids are able to pinpoint very specific gifts and areas of interest that we inherited from her. Kenton is the ultimate chef, baker, and host in the family, with incredible attention to detail in every 5-course Martha Stewart meal he serves us. He, like Mom, serves us at the table and is unlikely to be able to sit down and enjoy it with us. He will no doubt continue to use her recipes. And please, Kenton, learn to make Mom's poppy seed rolls. Chris is the community committee member and costume lover. She has Mom's creativity and eye, and will certainly miss her ace-in-the-hole seamstress. And I inherited her patience for the tedious details of a project and a deep love of sewing. I don't know what I'll do when I can't call Mom to help me through a particular problem. We learned many things from Mom over the course of our lives with her, but several things also stand out from just the last few weeks. Mom was renowned in our family for her remarkable pain tolerance. She never wanted pain medication at the dentist, and counted her 3 medication-free childbirth experiences as really fun. Yeah. She was not a complainer or a pill popper. And I still remember the time I called her when she was in the middle of chemotherapy treatments for breast cancer. It took many rings for her to answer the phone, and when she finally did, I apologized for waking her. And she said breathlessly, "Oh, I was downstairs wallpapering." She was the one we called to make everything better again. She had an unfailingly positive outlook on life, the perfect complement to Dad's realism. When faced with an unpleasant or burdensome job, she cheered us on by encouraging us to make a game out of it. Her positive attitude and quiet strength were on full display in the last few weeks of her life, and were no doubt part of her efforts to keep all of us comfortable. Above all these things, however, is the greatest gift Mom left us, which can be summed up in a paraphrase of a quote that Dad has taped above his desk at home. The greatest gift a mother can give her children is to love their father. Mom and Dad were truly and absolutely soulmates. We kids are blessed with the knowledge that Mom spent several of her last hours on this earth sitting next to Dad on the couch, holding his hand and dozing peacefully. And we are humbled by the example Dad set for us in the last weeks of love and devotion in sickness and in health, for better or worse, until death do us part. The difficult part of having their lifelong love as an example for us is that they made it look too easy. But we will be forever grateful for the challenge they set for us. Mom used all of her God-given gifts to their fullest, in quiet service and love to others. We will cherish our memories of her and continue to learn from her example.